Hey guys, welcome back to the Vaughn Homestead. In today's video, as has been requested by a lot of folks, I'm going to do the how to build a coop, which is going to be my split plan design, which is a 8-foot wide, 6-foot tall, 5.5-foot deep, which is from front to back, chicken coop that is split down the middle. Of course, it's going to have it, each side will have its own doors, but like I said, I've had that coop in a bunch of videos in the past from where I was showing off some of my Old English game bannies and stuff. So without further more, we're gonna break it down step by step, just like in my previous video. And if you haven't seen my previous video, scroll back. I think it might have been about September-ish.
We can also link it in the description box.
Yeah, I'll try to link it in the description box where you can check it out as well. It's a 5-foot wide, 7.5-foot deep front to back, and 6-foot tall single coop. So without further more, we're going to break it down step by step, where it's very simple measurements and all, and as well in the description box will be all measurements as well as the listed material of what you're going to need. So let's get started. All right, so the first thing that you're going to do is build your top and bottom frame, which we have right here. These boards here, these are your end boards, which will be considered your sides. They're going to be cut at 63 inches. Your front and back board is going to be solid 8-foot 2x4s. However, if you actually measure, even though they come from the store as 8 foot, they're never truly 8 foot. I've had some that are about 8 1/8 all the way up to 8 1/2. So what I do, I go ahead and put them on the saw anyways and cut them at exactly 8 foot, to where one front side won't be a 1/2 inch longer than the back side. Plus, it doesn't throw you off on your tin or your wiring where things are a little off or anything like that. So again, solid 8 foot on front and back. And then in between them is going to be 63 inches, which will give you an exact front and back length of 5.5 inches. Reason for your 5.5 feet. Reason for doing 5.5 feet, your sheets of tin come in 6 foot, so that allows for a 3-inch overhang on the front and the back, to where it'll help, of course, keep the rain and stuff like that off, and give you room to, if you want to foam it up or anything like that, for the little gaps in the ripples between the tin and the wood. Next thing we're going to do, we're going to add the legs. All right, so the next part, before I get started on the legs, one thing I forgot to mention whenever doing your frames, you're also going to cut boards also at 63 inches. That's going to be for the center of your top and bottom frame. You see one up here, then of course one down here, and that'll be for helping you to frame out for your center wall. So as far as the legs go, you're going to cut 10 boards at 65 inches. And try not to get that mixed up when doing all your cuts. Your side boards are going to be 63. Your legs are going to be 65. You're going to cut 10 of those. That's going to be one for all 4 corners, plus these 2 here, because these are going to be for your doors. One in the center, in the front, and in the back. Plus, you're going to basically do kind of like a T. You'll see right here. You're going to have one butt up against the front and back center board, and that's going to be also helping you to frame up your center wall. And the only thing that'll be left for the center wall will be the board that's going to go across the center here for connecting your tin and your wire and all that too, which you'll see later on in the video. Next is going to be adding in all your boards that go around the center to be able to separate your tin and your wire. All right, so as stated, next thing is going to be all your center braces going all the way around. This center board right here is going to be cut at 55 3/4 inches. That's going to be going inside of here. Also, as I pointed out in my last video, I like to use this what's called pocket screws, which is a little machine you can buy. It's about yay big. I'll show it here at the end of the video. It drills these angled holes, and it's a certain screw you can buy, which you can also use regular deck screws as well. But it goes inside to help you to butt up 2 boards like this. The machine, the little tool is about 130 bucks, I believe, at Home Depot. But if you don't want to do that, you can always just put maybe like a 6-7 inch 2x4 across here and screw it into this board and this board. As well as the same thing with the legs. If you want to, you can either do the pocket hole screws. I do 2 on the outside, 1 on the inside, to where they kind of go at an angle like that to crisscross. Or again, you can put your short 2x4 going from here to there and butt them all up. So back to all your center boards. this one is 55 3/4. That will finish out your frame for your center, what's going to be your center wall. These on the side are 63 inches, just like what your frame was. These on the back will go in between these boards, your corner and your center boards. These are going to be at 42.5. Both of them are. And then you've got these up here, which these are going to be cut at 15 inches. And so that way it helps brace that. And everything across the center is because of the fact that the bottom half of your coop, excuse me, the bottom half of your coop is going to be all your wire. So that way you have something going all the way across to connect your wire to at the bottom and at the center point. Because I do my wire, I buy 3 foot tall rolls of wire. So, and then of course the 10 will be the other half, and you'll see that as we move on in the video. And then right here, what I do is I do this board right here at the bottom of the door. This is 14 inches from the bottom, from the very bottom up to here is 14 inches. So it's basically like a little 14-inch wall that it's easy to step over. However, it helps to keep whatever you got in here, whether it's baby pigs, young goats, chickens, ducks, whatever. It helps to keep them from being able to run out every time you open up the door. So, since we've got all the center boards, the next thing is going to be the doors. All right, so next going to be the door. What you're going to do for the door is you're going to do 2 boards at 53.5 inches long. Then you're going to do 3 boards at 16 1/4 inch long. You're then going to either do your pocket holes, 2 on one side and then 1 on the back side, or again you can take a short 2x4 and put it across here. Either one will work. And then of course you would just add your wire on, and then of course, you know, put it up. Of course, if it's in there perfectly, what I do is I take a permanent marker.
Bless you, baby.
I always put a marker underneath that the door will sit on, and then put my hinges on. So that way it gives me roughly about a 1/2 inch gap between the top of the door in the frame and the bottom of the door and your little 14-inch wall. That way, if it starts to kind of, you know, swag a little or sag a little bit, then you know you still got that little extra clearance for swinging it open and closed. And once it's butted up against the door or the frame over here, you've still got about a 1/2 inch gap between the center board and your door as well, for again any type of sag that tries to come in. You know, it'll adjust for that, and you still got plenty of room for where nothing's just sticking. And then next was going to be your 2 rooftop support boards. They're going to be 2 boards cut at 45 3/4 inches. They're going to go from inside to inside. Now, whenever you do the first one, you'll end up being able to do 2 screws from the outside, and then 2 screws from the other side of this board here. That'll hold the first one in place. Once you get to your second board, what you're going to run into is you'll be able to do the 2 screws from the outside for that end. But of course, you have a few different options for here. Of course, I'm able to do like the pocket hole screws, which this was my second board I did. So the pocket hole screws are on this side to be able to go right in. Or you can just run a screw straight up from here and the top, or from the sides, you know, right into it without pre-drilling holes. Or you can always take like a 2x4 or like a 2x2 block or another 2x4 and screw it here, and then screw 2, or show you from this better angle, you can put a 2x4 right here like a little block and attach it to this board, and then come in from the other side and screw right into it, and that would also hold this board in place. So like I said, if that block was here, you can go straight in from this side right here and go into that little bitty block. That'll help to hold that into place. Of course, the next thing's going to be your perches. You're going to have, or what I like to do, I do one from here to here, and of course same thing on the other side. What that does is that allows them to be 3 foot up off the ground. Since your 10 is going to go from here all the way over, that puts them directly out of any wind, directly out of the rain blowing in on them, because everything's all cold air, rain, all that is going to blow underneath them through the wire, of course. Some people like to say, well, you may have to worry about, you know, something trying to reach in and grabbing one. It'd have to have some pretty long arms, and that's assuming that your chickens are way over here. And of course, if you want to, you can always put something like maybe like a little board at an angle right here. you know, or just something right here to where they're not necessarily sitting that close to the sidewall, and they kind of makes them take up, you know, more of this area here, which of course ain't nothing gonna be reaching in from the center part, because it's just gonna be, you know, chickens or whatever other animals that you got on the other side. So no worries there. So next thing's next is gonna be the purchase. All right, so as I said, next was gonna be the purchase. And real quick, I did forget on whenever I was explaining the braces going all the way around. Pretty sure I forgot to say that the backboards are 42.5 inches each. And of course they go, you know, of course in between the center and your corner board. So I can't remember if I said that or not, so just in case. Anyways, back to the purchase. Your purchase are gonna be, what I do is I measure from the back to 18 inches. And I just line up the board here, the center of the board with the line there. And so the purchase are, again, 45.5 inches for both sides. I do them flat. That way, whenever, especially on your really, really cold nights, whenever the chickens are sitting up here perching, and of course, they sit down on their feet, the wider your platform, the better that they are able to sit on their feet to keep them warm. If you have a very narrow platform, then as their toes curl around something, the part that of their toes that their feathers not able to cover can end up getting frostbite depending on how cold it gets in your particular area. So keep that in mind. That's like, so that's why I keep mine flat. The reason I haven't done the other side yet is because I do have to, during the tin process, I'll end up showing you the back part of the tin is going to end up being a solid piece. I do that for in case you have a couple of aggressive roosters that want to try to fight each other through the wire. I do a solid piece of tin that's going to go all the way up right here at this perch point. That way it's harder for them to try to like fight each other through because they won't be able to see each other. As well as another option that you can do that I'm going to end up doing with this one. I'm going to end up adding a board, which will be after I add the wire and all that on. I'm going to run another perch that's going to go from here straight all the way across to the other side. I will leave about a foot gap between this board and the top of the perch. So it's going to sit about right here. And that will just allow them, for depending on how many chickens you got in here. And of course, chickens like to get up on the highest perch. So that allows them to get that much higher, which again can help to prevent things from grabbing them, you know, from on the sides, depending on what kind of, you know, what size wire you have and all that. Plus, you know, again, it just gives them extra security and different level options. And of course, having the lower point, all they got to do is hop to the 3 foot, then it can assist them getting up here to where, depending on if you got bannies or younger ones that may not can get 5 foot up off the ground necessarily, that 3 point will be an easier mark for them to get to there, to the higher point. So next thing's next is going to be the wire on the lower half. All right, so now onto the wire part. As far as the center wall goes, I put wire on the upper half. On the next part, I'll show where I do 10 on the bottom. So that way, if you have a rooster on both sides, they can't, you know, try to fight each other through it and potentially hurt themselves or each other. To me, it just helps out with ventilation as well. You're gonna also have to end up doing a little notch out right here. And of course, if you just want to do 10 all the way up, you can. But like I said, in my opinion, it just helps out with ventilation, with the wind blowing across here over this and then out the other side to potentially help with smell plus fresh air and, you know, whatever else. As far as the outside goes, I start off here at one of the outer door frames boards. I go from here, staple that in place, and the staple pattern that I go is every other on the top edge, and then I come back on this part right here, and again I do every other. That holds plenty good, and I've had stray dogs come up and try to rip the wire off, and I haven't had anything be able to destroy any of the wire as of yet. Knock on wood. The way that I do it to, again, make with being extra strong, I start off here with the roll. I go all the way around one solid piece, and I end right here. Now, of course, you are going to have to cut out, you know, this upper half of the wire, you know, of course, for your doorways. But again, strength-wise, it being one solid piece versus, you know, at one point I was doing it where I would just go from here to the corner, cut it all off, then start off back on the corner on the other side, go to the next corner, cut off. But again, I realized that actually allows more weak points. So as for the wire, that's all you're going to do on the wire part. And next will be the 10. All right, so now we have the 10 on. And as you see, this is 6 foot sheets. And as you see here, as I stated before, the reason for the doing 5.5 feet deep is, and is because of the fact that the 6'10", you can do a 3-inch overhang on front and back to allow for whenever the water's coming. And if you line it up with the edge, then your water's going to come off and it's going to bleed all over your wood and all, which can potentially make, even though it is treated wood, it can still make it rot out quicker. However, by doing this, it allows the water to drain off and kind of, you know, shoot off over the edge to where it doesn't just, you know, fall all over your wood here to potentially, you know, make your wood last longer. As you see, we do use I use 1-inch metal 10 screws that have the little rubber washers on there and all. It holds on very well. I basically go about every 8 to 12 inches, about every 4th ripple. So like I skip 3 in between. I do it on the front, the center, and the back. On the inside, as I had stated before, why I hadn't done the other side of the perch, I do this sheet of 10 here to go all the way up, and then I put the perch on the inside here, and then I do the other half with 10, so that way this part is still open for, again, the ventilation, as I've stated before during the wire part of the video. And then I run this perch, I cut off this little notch here, and I do a 1-foot gap between the top brace board and this board for the chickens to be able to get on. At this point, it's going to be too short for really the roosters to be trying to want to fight or anything. Plus, this is mainly where they're going to get up at nighttime whenever they're, again, going to bed, so not really too concerned about fighting or anything like that. During the daytime when they're active and going to want to fight, they're going to primarily be on the ground, and which, again, all the 10 being all the way across will keep them from seeing each other. The back wall, we'll move around back to it. Same thing, except for these are 8-foot sheets. So of course it's one solid sheet all the way across. If you can't find 8 foot, of course you can get, you know, 6-foot sheets, and you're gonna have to do some overlapping. But basically I do the top part first, and then the bottom piece, because again this is 2 sheets since they're only 2 foot wide, and this is a 3-foot, you know, wall here that I'm doing. Now of course you can also find 3-foot wide sheets, but this is the type that I prefer. So I took it underneath, that way again whenever it's raining it goes over each other. If you put this over it, it's going to go down behind it, and then again end up putting some of the rain or water inside of the coop, and it can cause water to get caught between the sheets of tin, which it is galvanized tin now, but it can still end up causing it to rot over time. So of course that's something you don't want. So the only thing left to do now is the last 2 parts. I got to put the wire that goes right here on this upper part, and then I got to add the wire to the doors and put the doors on. So this here is the finished product, other than the fact I still got to run Home Depot because I forgot to buy a 2x2, because normally there's one there, one there, one there, one there. So I only had enough to do the top 2. So I got, like I said, I got to make a quick store run for that, as well as what I normally do as well. Of course, I put this board right here. That helps with, for one, whenever you close the door, in case something was to try to hit against the door, wild animal or whatever, it makes it that much stronger for them to try to push in. And I normally will put a 2x2 block right here as well, or correction, here on the door jamb, on the door frame. So that way, whenever you close the door, you can latch it over, and it keeps the door from opening while you're inside. That way your chickens or whatever you got in here don't escape out. This is what the inside looks like. Like I said, I do a solid 6-foot sheet on the back side between the lower perch. I split a 6 foot in half to do this front part of the coop. And then that's the upper perch going all the way across. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this build. If you did, please hit me up in that comment section. And real quick, I'm going to show y'all, like I said I would, the pocket hole. It's called a pocket hole jig. I'm going to show y'all that tool. This is the pocket hole jig that you can get from Home Depot. It's set where you can do different depth boards and all. Of course, I've got it set for the 2x4s right now. Basically, you just put it in there. It locks in. Of course, this is adjustable as well for depending on what thickness board you got. It comes with a specialty bit. That's all. I believe it's a 3/8 inch bit. And basically, what I do is whenever I put the 2x4 in, the way that I do it, I drill both these 2 outer holes. After I do that, I flip the 2x4, and then I do the middle hole. And like I said, that creates a crisscross of the screws. Hope this video helps some of y'all to build y'all a pretty nice little split plan coop. If so, please let me know how my instructions worked out for you in the video. If I need to make any, quirks to the video or anything like that, or add some information in the description, please let me know. Other than that, y'all have a good one.